loves, hey baddies, hey bitches, what is up and welcome back to the channel. Today's gonna be a kind of chill video. If you're new here, welcome. Please be sure to subscribe. Feel free to smash the thumbs up button, forget about the dislike button, or comment any videos down below about videos you want to see from me in the future. I'm gonna get a little comfortable right now. Let me get this pillow. It's gonna be somewhat of a chill video, honestly. I just wanted to sit down and talk in front of the camera. It's a video that I thought about making for a while, but I never actually like planned it out, not even right now. I just right now just felt inspired to just sit down in a chill mode and talk to you guys. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my glow up. I mean, that term honestly is just cheesy to me, but I personally essentially have had a glow up, and I honestly am not even referring to the surgeries that I've had. Yes, that in large part has to do with the glow up, but a big part of that is more so on the social media side of things. I'm talking from within in this video. I honestly just wanted to say the truth behind my glow up. And what inspired me to make this video was that I was going through my Instagram and deleting a lot of my old pictures, mainly because my IG is more of a business page now, and I had that Instagram since 2013, I think, like when IG first started popping off. And I had so many like spam posts, pictures of my like ex. I still have him up there. I had trouble deleting it, but my ex of 10 years, like so many family photos, lots and lots of pictures of my daughter. I deleted all of them. I'm still deleting them, but Instagram keeps limiting how much I can delete, so it's a work in progress. And anyways, the whole point was that it forced me to look at a lot of like old pictures of myself, and honestly, like I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how bad I looked. And like I was always, I'm not saying this in a cocky way at all, I was always a pretty girl. But life happens. Things happen. Your lifestyle affects the way that you look. And there are just many different factors that affect how you look and what you put off to the world. And I look at my pictures now and just who I am now, both emotionally, spiritually, physically, like I just like, it's a whole different person. Now I'm 33, so these pictures were back when I was like 19, 20, like in my early 20s. On Facebook too, I have a lot of older pictures from when I was even younger. Anyways, I wanted to honestly just talk about the truth behind my glow up. And when I say the truth behind my glow up, I mean give you some background as to who Jessica is and like where I came from and things like that. So I do have like 5 bullet points that I like, 6 bullet points that I narrowed down as like things you can do to help you glow up, or things that help me glow up. But I really just want to talk about my story for a little bit. So grab a snack, drink some wine, drink some Coca-Cola, drink some water, stay hydrated, people. I got my water right here. And just get comfortable with me. And if you have any questions about my story, please feel free to comment them down below. And if I have to, I'll do a part 2 to the video. So honestly, I grew up way too fast. I moved out of my dad's house and into my mother's house when I was about 13-ish. And my father was reluctant to do that because my father was more strict and lived a clean lifestyle, hardworking lifestyle. And my mother was definitely much more laid back. She had a very negative lifestyle. She had very bad habits that, although she was a beautiful spirit and soul, she was very toxic and had a lot of like bad habits in terms of like drugs and alcohol abuse, and just very toxic overall, and very laid back as a mother, and would let me do whatever I wanted. So I think my father was very reluctant for me to go there and possibly like end up flunking in school, dropping out, not going to college, and things of that nature, as he should have been. But I begged and cried for hours, and I ended up moving with my mom. And like I said, she let me do whatever I wanted. So I quickly started to, go after boys and got into relationships way too early, way too serious. And starting from my first relationship ever, it was toxic as fuck. And he was emotionally abusive, extremely controlling, and he put me on to very bad things. And that relationship was honestly like the early downfall of Jessica. And I'm not gonna get into like crazy specifics, but he basically helped me get into very bad habits at an early age. I'm talking I was 14 years old and I started getting into like the drugs and alcohol world. And like I said, my mom was also in that world. She was a great mother, a loving mother. She always kept the house clean. She always cooked for us. She always made sure I was safe. Like, in that sense, she was great. But she herself was fighting demons. And then I began fighting demons. And I, on top of demons, had a crazy ass controlling boyfriend that, like, literally I was in an all girls high school and he would be outside waiting for me as soon as the bell rang, because he didn't want me associating with any of the boys from the boys high school. And if I even looked in the direction of another man, I was instantly like sleeping with that man and just accused of all sorts of stuff. And like, it was so toxic. I don't want to make this video about that, but this relationship like literally sucked the life out of me in an early age. And it was my first exposure to like toxic relationships, and from there I had like toxic relationship after toxic relationship. But that was honestly like the worst relationship, if that makes any sense. It wasn't the worst breakup, but it was the worst relationship. From there I went into a 10-year relationship, which was toxic, but I was also like madly in love with the person, and he was genuinely a good person, just not loyal. And then same thing, drugs and alcohol were heavily involved. So basically drugs and alcohol was like a large part of my youth. And then my last relationship, I cleaned up completely and I ended up having my daughter, and I have, long story short, been clean ever since then. But basically, at an early age, I was exposed to drugs and alcohol. And when I look back at my old pictures, I'm like, whoa, like I can see what I was doing to myself. And I'm so grateful that I stopped and that I literally live a clean life now. Don't take away my alcohol. I still love alcohol. But in terms of everything else, I'm very much like pure. So I think that in large part had a lot to do with the glow up. But aside from basically cleaning up my lifestyle, I think a large part of it also has to do with cleaning up your environment. So getting rid of toxic men or friends or even family members that are heavily involved or heavily like into your circle, it's important to get rid of that. Because I would say like the initial glow up, the real glow up I think started after I had my daughter, to be honest. But in terms of like emotionally, I think getting rid of the first boyfriend, which took way too long, I was with him for 4 years. When I finally had gotten rid of him, a big weight was lifted off of me. But I was so damaged from that relationship, and I had to rebuild who I was, and my self-esteem was so shattered, and I was just so mentally and physically drained, and I had to relearn how to live life freely because he controlled me so much. Like, so freaking much. And you know when toxic people isolate you and they make you cut off so many family members and things like that? Like, that's how it was. I was heavily consumed in the relationship and he was my entire world. And I knew it was so wrong and I knew I had to get out, but I was scared and I didn't know how to. When I started college, I went away for 1 week and I was able to like get him to get out of my house. I didn't want nothing to do with him. Had all his stuff taken out of my house, and I started college, and that was the beginning of a new path for me. And then I ended up meeting with the person that I was with for 10 years, and again, he was a great person, but we were codependent on each other and continued the drug and alcohol abuse cycle, which still held me back in life. The one thing I will give myself credit for is that I I made sure I always stood in school, and I made sure I always had a good job, and I did well in school, and whatever job I had, I did very well in. I probably could have excelled a lot more had it not been for drugs and alcohol, but I still managed to stay consistent, and that I would have to be very grateful for my father. Now, growing up, I didn't have a lot of positive role models. YouTube wasn't a thing back then. Social media wasn't a thing back then. So I only had who was around me. My mom wasn't a great role model. My sister wasn't a great role model. I didn't have any like female role models around me that were teaching me or helping me to like learn different routines and learn how to truly take care of myself. And like I saw other girls, and I always compared myself to other girls, and I always wonder how they managed to dress so well and be so pretty and like take care of themselves so well. But I was very shy and introverted, so I never really connected in large part with those types of girls. I would honestly low-key be a little jealous of them and be like, damn, like how? Also, I was so freaking skinny. I was like a toothpick. So my self-esteem was just honestly like to the ground. But like I said, I didn't have a lot of positive role models. I didn't, and the drugs and the alcohol was holding me back. At one point, I had even graduated from modeling school, and because I was so heavily involved with my 4-year ex, the one that was super toxic and controlling, I think he purposely liked me being in a state of like high or drunk or just like basically messed up, so that I could just be this shattered person. And I ended up not following through. I had a portfolio done, and then I never went back to book any jobs, and I let my life kind of go to waste in terms of like what I truly wanted to do, which was modeling at the time. I had the height, I had the looks, I had the cheekbones, but I was technically destroyed as a person. My story is a little bit all over the place. I apologize. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have positive role models, and I had a very, very negative lifestyle, and I cared more about being with a man than I did about taking care of Jessica and really focusing on Jessica's future. Like, yes, I was in school, yes, I had jobs, but I was never really, really focused on the future. I was just living in the moment and worried and consumed by the love of a man, and I had no idea how to love myself at all. Like, I needed to be validated by a man in order to feel happy. I needed a man by my side in order to feel complete, and I needed to be high and drunk to just feel like I felt any sense of happiness. So fast forward to me deciding to have a baby and join in with the relationship that I had with my child's father. He didn't like drugs, and he wasn't a drinker. So I ended up honestly cleaning my act up because I was going to be with him. That was probably the best thing that came out of the relationship aside from my beautiful daughter. So the relationship itself was toxic to the extent of there was disloyalty, like there was it was just a toxic relationship. I don't want to get into that one. But two things came from that, and that was my daughter, and that was me cleaning up my lifestyle. And I think that was the beginning of the true glow up. Fast forward to the breakup that I had with him, and it was the worst breakup I've ever been through in my life. Not because of pain of breaking up, but because of things that happened due to the breakup. And at that point, I had already had my first surgery. So that's why I don't think surgery alone is the glow up that I needed. I think I needed to be mentally broken down to make the come up that I ended up doing. So that's why I say the truth behind my glow up is because it was more than just surgery. It was more than just one thing. Like, if I have to say, like, my glow up came from cleaning up my lifestyle, changing who I surround myself with, letting go of the need to have a man by my side in order to feel whole, happy, and complete, and just finding positive role models through social media. Like, YouTube honestly teaches a lot, and I think that's probably why I'm making this video, in case there's anybody that's currently going through it. Like, there's so much that you can learn from on YouTube, and I think like I started to look at YouTube as a source of like learning. I learned how to cook from YouTube, And you can learn how to glow up from YouTube. You can learn how to love yourself more from YouTube. You can learn how to start a business from YouTube. You can learn so much from YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. As much as, yes, it's just for fun and social media, there's also influence on there. So if you're somebody that doesn't have positive role models in your life, because of the way social media is now, there are so many positive role models that you can look to on social media, but that's also a dangerous rabbit hole to fall into, because not everything you see on social media is real. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. Everybody is photoshopping their images, creating these fake lifestyles just to impress and kind of keep up with the Joneses and be better than the next influencer and all of that stuff. So take that lightly and just be mindful of what you're watching in terms of like what you're idolizing, because that can be a very dangerous route. But I think YouTube back in the day was honestly a little bit more genuine than it is now. But that's pretty much that. Like, so I had my first surgery while I was still with my child's father, and I still was broken as a person. Like, the surgery fixes you to an extent, but there's still so much emotional and mental things that you have to do from within that your body doesn't help, if that makes any sense. And then, like I said, the breakup was so bad that it just forced me to realize, whoa, I need to take a step back. I jumped from relationship to relationship to relationship without ever taking time to truly love myself, to truly evaluate what went wrong in those relationships, to truly identify what the red flags are that I missed that allowed me to get into those relationships. And just basically, it gave me the opportunity to rebuild the relationship that I had with myself so that I can become the best version of myself. And I'm still not there. I'm still growing every single day and working at it. Like, it's something that you constantly have to do, is to improve and be better than you were yesterday. And don't compare yourself to others. Just do the best that you can. So that's what it is. I worked on loving myself. I worked on identifying things that were going to make me happier. I put more attention into like hair care, skin care, makeup routines, clothing, things that were going to make me feel more confident on the outside, while also working on things that were going to make me feel more assured from within, things that were going to help me love myself more. If I didn't love myself as much as I do now, I would honestly be in another toxic relationship, because honestly, that's all the men that I see. Like, I tried to start dating again, I tried to get into relationships again, but I'm so aware of red flags, and maybe that is that I'm just so guarded that I look at every red flag and run. But I also think back to the relationships that I had before, and relationships were so different back then, for me at least, because if I look back to the early stages, the only reason those became relationships was because I ignored so much in the beginning, and I lowered my value so much because I was so desperate to be with that person that I just overlooked every single obstacle and red flag and did whatever I had to do to make sure that this relationship was going to be a relationship. And now I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, nope, red flag. Nope, that won't work. Nope, nope, nope. Like, I'm just assessing things so much better. So I think, like, relationships have a lot to do with a glow up. Obviously, like, a lot of people glow up after a breakup, and now I understand why. And I am still single to this day because I have raised my standards so high, but they're realistically high, not like insanely high. I'm starting to ramble a little bit, but you have to just really assess your relationship with yourself when you're wanting to glow up. You just really have to reassess the relationship that you have with yourself, reassess what things you're doing to self-sabotage your own image, mentally and physically. You have to think about your surroundings. You have to really cut off any toxic people that are weighing you down, and that includes family members. My mother did not weigh me down by any means. That, well, it's not, I wouldn't even feel right saying that. I love my mother to death, but I lost my mom when she was only 50 years old. I was 20 at the time, and I lost her because of drugs and alcohol. And even that wasn't a big wake-up call enough for me to stop what I was doing. I was honestly headed down that same path. Seeing my mom destroy her own life and eventually lose it weighed me down. It did weigh me down. As much as I just said it didn't, it did, because I struggled to really take care of her. I was the one that lived with her. I saw the demise taking place, and that broke me more than I'll ever know. It broke other family members too, but that's for a whole other video. But I can't talk negatively about my mother. Um, there were other family members in my life that just were very toxic and very negative, and their habits were just horrible. And like, you have to reassess who's in your circle, and even if they're a family member or they're a friend, there's going to be a time where you need to realize that they're weighing you down and they're cutting you off. They're holding you back in life, or they're bringing you down in life. And that is family members, boyfriends, friends. It can be anybody. Sometimes it can even be yourself, and that's where you have to cut ties with that version of yourself that's allowing that, or you cut ties with those family members or those friends, those relationships. That's a big part of glowing up, and working to improve yourself. So, um, just to recap, truth behind my glow up. Yes, I had surgeries. Yes, that has a big part to do with how I'm physically more confident. I'm not even gonna lie about that. But aside from just that, my like face, like with no surgery on my face at all, is just so much healthier and so much happier because of the glow up that I had emotionally, because of the habits that I got rid of physically, because of who I allow myself to be influenced by, because of things I worked on to improve myself, my makeup, my skincare, my hair care, my confidence and my self esteem from within, which makes you glow more externally as well. So my body is one thing, but let's say I was to cut the body part off, honestly, like just face, it it's a big difference, because I had the same face back then and I did not love myself nearly as much as I do now. So just to recap, surround yourself with positive role models. That is super, super key to a glow up and to going further in life and advancing and becoming a better person. Practicing self love, daily affirmations, switch up your routines, have a hygiene routine, have a self care routine, have a day just dedicated to self love, whatever that may be, whether it's tanning, nails, massages, shopping, whatever, just reading, whatever it is that you want to do that will make you feel happier, then do it on that day of self love. Find a new routine, change your wardrobe, switch it up, find clothes that are more flattering to you, find clothes that make you feel happier, that make you feel like a vibe, that make you just bring out your true self. Focus on things that you can change rather than the things that you cannot. So makeup is a thing that you can change. Your habits are things that you can change. Focus on the things that you are actually able to change and start making active steps to work on those things. Get rid of any bad habits. So for me, drugs and alcohol was a really bad habit, and it was more so the drugs. Like, I don't drink nearly as much, but I still like to drink. Like, I'm not a saint. But I got rid of the majority of my bad habits. Taking naps to me was honestly a bad habit as well. Sleeping too much or being hungover was a bad habit. Whatever it is, maybe watching too much TV, whatever it is your bad habits are that are holding you back in life or that are not allowing you to fully glow up, then really take steps and actions towards working on improving those and getting rid of or eliminating them altogether. Um, Maybe partying too much, going out to clubs too much, hanging out with friends too much instead of really working on goals for the future. That could be a bad habit. Another thing you can do is read a lot of books and watch a lot of videos on self-love and self-improvement. There's lots of contents out there. There's even Pinterest. Like, there's so many things you can learn from online. It's right at the tip of your fingers, and things that you can start implementing right now to help you love yourself more and improve your life. And then, like I already said, cleanse toxic people from your circle. That's super important. You are what you surround yourself with, and if you're surrounded by nothing but negativity or losers in life that want nothing for themselves, eventually that's going to weigh you down. So cleanse yourself of that, including any man that is holding you back from being your authentic, true, successful self. Don't let a man control you, and don't let a man bring you down or make you feel like less of a woman. There's lots of toxic things that we need to be looking out for. Maybe I can make videos on that as well. But I'm gonna just end this video right here. I don't even know what I'm gonna title this video, but like I said, if you have any questions about yourself, oh, you know what, I didn't even mention working out. Like, having a good exercise routine is super super important. I should have mentioned this before, but throughout the years, like eventually, like when I was with my 10-year ex, like eventually at some point in that relationship, I realized that the drugs was making me look like sloppy as hell. And I started working out, and I think that was actually the beginning of my glow up. I had started working out and I lost a lot of weight, but I ended up putting it back on in another relationship. So weight was always like a fluctuation, but anytime that I did work out, I felt amazing. And I am working out now again and I feel amazing. So I would honestly add that in terms of glowing up, is having a healthy exercise and diet routine. I'm not gonna lie and sit here and say that I eat the cleanest, but at least working out consistently and at least cleaning up a majority of your meals will help you to improve how you feel internally, and obviously eventually help you improve the way you look externally. And the tummy tuck was a big change for me, because no matter what amount of diet or exercise I could do, there was excess skin that looked horrible and that I wasn't happy with on my stomach, and no amount of diet and exercise was ever going to change that. And that's why I went through with the tummy tuck, which was honestly the best decision I could have ever done and life-changing for me, and a huge 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 part of my glow up. But like, I really wanted to talk about the truth behind the glow up, because the glow up that took place for me was over the course of many years and many things that happened to me in life. I'm now 33 and I feel and look better than I've ever looked in my entire life, and it took me a long time to get to this point. And I just kind of wanted to make this video in case there was any shortcuts that I could partake, or that I could pass on to you, in case this resonates somewhere in your heart. That's about it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know. Comment what you want to see next for me down below. Stay tuned for the next video. Bye, guys.